I have been in private practice since the 80s, and I really specialize in that mind-body interface where the two intersect. I'm a clinical counselor. I'm also a licensed body worker and a naturopathic doctor. And for me, it's very important that I do that. I have a large clientele. They come to see me for a variety of reasons. But the one thing they all have in common is that they feel very, very stuck. They have behaviors they can't quite shift, even though they know they need to do it differently. They get stuck in perceptions of the world, different kinds of filters, different emotional states. Sometimes they're stuck physically as well, because I do have dual licensure. And to me, the body is like the psyche turned inside out. And so it's very, very important to dive beneath just our mind, the front part of our mind, to really begin to get people unstuck from these patterns. Just because we know in our mind how we need to do it differently doesn't mean that we can. So one of the things I specialize in is helping people find ways to get to these deeper levels so that they can shift out of these non-productive patterns and become more free to be who they really are, to find that blueprint of self and to actually live it and actualize it. I think of terms of spheres of relationships. So ideally we're the core of that, and then there's our relationship to ourselves, and that's such an important part of healing on any level. And then there's, of course, relationship to our families, to our partners, to the people that we really love, and then outward to our friends, our circles of friends, and to the people we work with, and on, community, and so on. There's also our relationship to how we relate to obstacles, to challenges. So there's so many different ways of thinking of relationships. Are we able to meet challenges? Are we able to kind of rise above the I can't that I hear a lot of in my office, to find that place where we're really centered in ourselves and we know we can? I've come to realize that we all have trauma, not necessarily trauma with a big T, but any place where we're not allowed to really be fully ourselves, where we feel like we're being kind of washed over by outside or external circumstances. It's a catch-all word, and essentially what it means is that we develop through our nervous system, through our neuroconscious, we develop ways of surviving through that trauma. And sometimes to do that, we wind up shutting off parts of ourselves. And a lot of people, most of the people that I see, their nervous systems lost the ability to reset. They can find a way to relax, they can do their meditation, but then they go back into a trigger situation, whatever that is. Sometimes the triggers are really subtle, but bam, they're just off and running back in those old survival patterns. I see that as a culture, as a society, we typically go to top-down healing. So top-down healing for me is you go to a therapist, or you read a book, or you go to a doctor and you take a pill, or any of those different variations, to really change what's going on through the cortex on down, right? You're looking outside of yourself, or you're looking to come up with a different epiphany. Next time I'm in this situation, I'm going to do X instead of Y. The problem with that is too often in those situations we wind up doing Y because it's triggered back to those same kind of deeper patterns that we get stuck in. The other problem is that when we're relying on something outside of ourselves, we never really fully can find a way to find our own true map. right? We have an authentic map, our blueprint of self, and we also have a map based on all these things that we sort of swallowed as we were growing up, cultural, societal, familial, et cetera, and I call that our stuff, you know, and we're governed by it until we learn to really say, this is that old map, that stuff. It's really got a lot of landmarks on it, but really those landmarks aren't true. And that allows us then to begin to separate out and to find out who we are authentically, right? What that map really needs to be. And of course, as we all know, too often people don't even go and get medical prescriptions. They do drugs of varying kinds, alcohol, cigarettes, food, et cetera, all the kinds of addictions we all know. So my toolbox is really big. I use a lot of different modalities. I'm blending body approaches, mind approaches, a lot of more cutting edge, you could say, EFT, somatic experiencing, specialized kinesiology. I work with varying ways to just help us become more of who we are.